The perfect system. The maritime shipping industry is built on a simple rule. Every hour of delay costs tens of thousands of dollars. Nobody understood this better than Elena, a brilliant senior logistics architect who spent 3 years developing Aegis, a proprietary automated routing and customs clearing software. Aegis was a masterpiece. It could automatically predict storm patterns, recalculate fuel consumption, and pre-clear cargo manifests with international ports, cutting turnaround times by 40%. It was the digital engine that single-handedly turned a struggling regional carrier, Atlas Shipping, into a global logistics juggernaut. The owner of Atlas Shipping, Arthur Vance, was a man who measured success by the length of his cigar and the size of his yacht. To him, the record-breaking quarters were a result of his sheer business genius, not the quiet woman working 14-hour days in the tech department. As Atlas Shipping prepared to announce a massive merger with a European conglomerate, a deal worth hundreds of millions, Arthur decided it was time to trim the fat. He looked at Elena's hefty retention bonus and decided that an engineer who had already built the machine was no longer worth paying for. Chapter 2: The Departure. The meeting took place in Arthur's top-floor executive suite, overlooking the bustling container terminal below. Arthur didn't even offer Elena a seat. He simply pushed a revised contract across the mahogany desk. The agreed-upon 5% equity share and her 7-figure completion bonus had been completely removed. In their place was a standard corporate thank you letter and a meager severance package. "The company is entering a new phase, Elena," Arthur said, adjusting his gold cufflinks without looking her in the eye. "We've automated our core processes, thanks to your hard work, of course. But moving forward, we need to focus on executive management. Sign the release and you can leave today with a glowing recommendation." Arthur was smug. He believed that because the software was running on his company's servers, the creator didn't matter anymore. Elena didn't argue. She didn't cry or threaten him with lawsuits. She looked at Arthur's arrogant smile, quietly closed the folder, and stood up. "The system is incredibly complex, Mr. Vance," she said softly, her voice devoid of any anger. "It requires a specific digital handshake to maintain its optimization." Arthur chuckled, waved his hand dismissively. "We have a whole IT department to handle maintenance now, Elena. You're free to go." Elena walked out, packed her things, and left the building. On her way to the parking lot, she opened her personal laptop and entered a final command into her developer terminal. Deactivate Cloud Authentication Token. Chapter 3: The Paralysis. The grand merger signing was scheduled for 9 a.m. the following Monday. Representatives from the European conglomerate, international journalists, and a massive legal team were all gathered in the Atlas boardroom. Arthur Vance stood at the podium, ready to sign the papers that would cement his legacy. Suddenly, Arthur's phone began to vibrate violently, then his tablet, then the phones of every executive in the room. The head of terminal operations burst into the boardroom without knocking, his face dripping with sweat. "Mr. Vance, we have a catastrophic failure. The automated cranes have stopped moving. The gates won't open. The incoming container ships can't dock because the port authorities haven't received the pre-clearance manifests." Arthur tried to stay calm in front of his investors. "Just restart the server," he barked. "We did," the manager shouted. "The software is running, but it's locked in a loop. It's demanding a master developer cryptographic key." Without it, the system won't communicate with the port databases or the crane hardware. We have 16 cargo ships idling in the bay, and the port is threatening to fine us $50,000 for every hour we block the channel. Arthur's IT department was completely helpless. Elena hadn't planted a virus or deleted any files. She had simply revoked the temporary developer license that allowed the software to bypass daily authentication. Without her personal digital signature, the brilliant multi-million-dollar automated shipping network was nothing more than a collection of useless screens. Chapter 4: The True Cost. By noon, the situation had turned into an absolute disaster. The gridlock at the port had backed up traffic for miles into the city. The European investors were openly discussing pulling out of the merger, realizing that Atlas Shipping was entirely paralyzed. Arthur Vance's empire was losing millions by the minute, and his board of directors was in a state of sheer panic. Desperate, Arthur swallowed his pride and called Elena. She answered on the first ring, the ambient sounds of a beach cafe audible in the background. "Elena!" "Thank God," Arthur stammered, his voice cracking with anxiety. "Look, we had a massive glitch with Aegis. The IT guys say they need your master key. Just give us the code and I'll make sure your original severance package is doubled." "It's not a glitch, Arthur," Elena replied, her voice perfectly calm and steady. "The trial license expired, and the software simply realized it no longer has an owner, and my price has changed." "Name it," Arthur choked out, watching through the window as another massive cargo ship dropped anchor in the harbor, unable to dock. "I want my original 5% equity in the merged company, my full completion bonus paid up front, and a seat on the board of directors as chief technology officer. You have 15 minutes to have your legal team draft the binding agreement. If it's not in my inbox by then, I'm boarding a flight, and my phone will be on airplane mode for the next 10 hours. Arthur looked at the European investors who were already packing up their briefcases. He had no choice. With a trembling hand, he ordered his legal team to draft the documents, signed them, and wired the funds. Exactly 4 minutes after the email was sent, the screens at the terminal flickered back to life. The massive automated cranes groaned and began to lift the containers. The port gates swung open and the cargo ships finally began to move. Arthur Vance saved his merger, but as he looked at the signed contract, he knew he no longer ruled his company alone. He had built the ships, but Elena owned the tide. Arthur Vance learned a brutal lesson that cost him a piece of his empire. In the modern world, you can buy the iron, the concrete, and the ships. But if you don't respect the minds that write the code, you are just captaining a ghost ship. Elena received every single dollar she earned, and Atlas Shipping never missed a tech department payment again. What would you have done if you were in Elena's shoes? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to check out the next story of corporate arrogance